Hi and welcome to the first litter picking vlog. But first two things. The first thing is we're not going to go litter picking, and the second thing is that I'm going to include some other videos in this video. Now, why do we not go litter picking? I'm doing since quite some days research on how to do it, and I still haven't figured it out to the point where I can do it. But I want to include in these vlogs as much as possible, as early as possible, so I want to start a vlog now, still in the preparation phase, where I try to find out how to do it. And the other videos, I'm vlogging also to other things regularly, for tennis vlogs and for hiking vlogs. And we're going to go also tennis playing, and we're going to go quite something through the town and quite some distance, so it is in a way also hiking and a tennis vlog. And I include on these travels to make other videos. In the last hiking vlog already I intended to, or I already did, it's not published, but I intend to publish it with other videos we're going to shoot along the way. I'm doing for another channel presentations about all types of subjects without any specific subject. It's just the next page in a random book. And I do these presentations along the way, and I intend to include them in this vlog. And also for another series I'm reading poetry, also just the next poem which I can find, and I'm going to include this also. I'm right now reading about the First World War poetry, so I include it as well. And probably I shoot also some fitness videos combined with my presentation videos, so it is combined in a third type of series, the learning videos. I probably include also the fitness videos if I shot in this video, at least maybe a few. So I include in this video probably 2-3 different types of other sorts of videos in this vlog. Now, why am I telling all this? Normally I don't tell this, but these vlogs are a lot about planning and how to do things, so that is part of a vlog to plan how to do the vlog. So that is why I'm telling it. Now, we're not going to go litter picking because there are some problems. We don't really know where to start. We did quite some research, and the main problem is that we don't really know how to do the litter. Oftentimes on these websites, it is not so clear who they are addressing. It seems sometimes they seem to address a group of people. And it is common sense and obvious that if 10, 20, 50, maybe 100 people are litter picking and they have 200, 300 bags, they just can't place them somewhere. But when it's not clear, do they also mean 1 or 2 persons who not even make a full bag full, just a few items? Where to do that, where to give it to. So I don't really know. I want to include in this video, as I do it already, how to do the litter picking as part of the vlogs, and also the other things. Now I'm going to show you shortly on the map the 2-3 main parts of a town where we want to go along. So we want to go here to the Seaton Plateau, that area, and then there to the tennis courts in Seaton Carroll. These are the main 2 positions. And then quite something also through the town at different places. So here on the north entry of the Seaton Plateau, there's already a little bit litter lying every 2-3 meters. But I'm right now more wondering what that sound is. So over there is a sound, and there it is reflected. England to the Sea by Ernest Vernede. Hearken, O mother, hearken to thy daughter. Fain would I tell thee what man telleth thee, saying that henceforth no more on any water shall I be first or great or laughed or free, but that these others, so the tale is spoken, who have not known thee all these centuries, by fire and sword, shall yet turn England broken back from thy breast and beaten from thy seas. Me whom thou bearest, where thy waves should guard me, me whom thou sucklest on the milk of fountain, me whom thy kisses shaped, what while they marred me, to whom thy storms a sweetened ring of home. Behold, they cry, she is grown soft and strengthless, all her proud memories changed to fear and fret. Say, thou who hast watched through ages with Alenfles, whom have I feared, and when did I forget? What sons of mine have shunned thy words and races? Have I not reared for thee time and again, and bid go forth to share the fearsome races, sea ducks, sea wolves, sea robbers, and sea men? Names that thou knowest, great hearts that thou holdest, rocking them in an endless wake. Captains the world can match not with its boldest, Hawke, Howard, Grenville, Frobisher, Drake. Nelson, the greatest of them all, the master who swept across thee like a shooting star, and while the earth stood veiled before disaster, caught death and slew him there at Trafalgar? Mother, they knew me then as thou didst know me. Then I cried, peace, and every flag was furled. But I am old, it seems, and they would show me that never more my peace shall bind the world. Wherefore, O sea, I, standing thus before thee, stretch forth my hands unto thy search and say, whence they come forth who seek this empire o'er thee, and I go forth to meet them on that day. God grant to us the old Armada weather, the winds that rip, the heavens that stoop and lower. Not till the sea and England sink together shall they be mastered. Let them boast that hour. Litter picking. The website keepthewrittientidy.org has made the article Litter Picking Essentials, and they have listed there a few things. So they say not on private land without the permission of the owner. So not on private land of another person. And also not at the roads where the people drive fast. They say 30 miles, so around 45-50 kilometers. That is too dangerous, do they say. Also not there is little or no pavement on roads. Then not near lakes, water, ponds or so. And then not too near wires, sluices or locks. Also not, if one is doing it at the beach, not at places where the tide can come in, at places where there's unfamiliar tides. So at beaches there can be the danger of tides, so the water coming in and out. And to tell a person where someone is going and when to come back. Now we're saying, what does someone need? They're saying someone needs a litter picker. These are such things, and with them then the litter is picked. One should not touch with sole hands the litter. And then a bag, do they say? And they also say strong gloves. And also shoes. It should be closed, sturdy shoes. And also appropriate clothes for the weather. And for the disposal of the litter, they say small things can be put into the person's own waste or to public bins. But if there's more, it cannot be just placed next to bins. It can be seen as fly tipping. So if someone is collecting bin and places it next to a public bin, the police can say that it's fly tipping. So a person just taking their own rubbish and placing it at another place, and that can have quite high penalties. So there has to be found a way to do it legally. And then do they also say there can be steep slopes, slippery banks, derelicts, dangerous buildings, ruins, livestock, electric fences, so hazardous places. Near water can be dangerous. Not to touch the face or open wounds with the gloves or with the hands and wash the hands afterwards. To have a mobile phone with so that one can phone if there's something going wrong. And maybe also to have an app. They're suggesting here the app 3 Word. That is an app where one can say 3 words, and then the police knows where a person is. It's maybe not working in all countries, but the person is saying 3 words, and they are specifically to a very small location, and the police know where that location is. And maybe a high visibility vest, bright colors, only in full daylight. To look that it is within the person's own personal capabilities. If they're children, then that they are accompanied by responsible adults. And maybe also that there is public liability insurance for bigger volunteer groups if someone is accidentally damaged or injured. They also say that there are some hazardous objects. Canisters, oil drums, flares and chemical containers, so some things can be too dangerous to take them. Also sharp objects such as broken glass, metals and disposable barbecues, so these things are dangerous and they maybe not. They recommend to avoid them for for the person's own risk. Also things like needles, syringes, clinical waste not to touch. Also feces not to touch, and not dead animals. And also fly tipping material not. If people have brought their own home wastes to a place, not to touch it. There can be things in like asbestos or things. And if someone gets the fine dust of the asbestos breathed into the lungs, they can cause cancer. And also not heavy or bulky items. And vapes also, so things with batteries in them. Vapes are types of cigarettes. And there is a battery in, and if one collects them and has them somewhere, they can start a fire. So they have to be done also carefully, or rather not, do they more or less advise. They also say, quote, "We believe sharing the results of your litter picking is almost as important as removing the litter. This helps us evidence the scale of the national litter problem and the big difference volunteers make." And then they also say here that website Keep Britain Tidy cannot be held legally responsible for any personal injury or any losses or damages suffered or incurred as a result of participating in a litter pick, save to the extent that such liability cannot be limited or excluded by law. And that this is just a guiding purpose. And that every place has its own specific risks. The positions and views expressed are the ones of its authors and don't necessarily align with my own or with the ones of the entity spoken of. So, as you probably have seen, I intend to burn the presentation in which I just made and which we researched previously. So what do we do if we want to pick litter? Now, it is obvious that we can't pick these big metal things, but here these smaller things, these energy drink cans or whatever they're called, and these smaller things, and they're here all over. So it is now a place where there's more lying. There's also another bigger place with more. Now the thing with the private land, the Seaton Plateau, and that is not the official name, it doesn't have an official name, it's not an official place, is in a way private land. But it is allowed to walk here through. So what is with this place? So we're allowed to walk here through, it's a public path here through, but are we now allowed to pick a litter bin, or is it a private place? Now I see it a bit with common sense. If the litter is lying here around, the owner of this land probably doesn't really have a problem if someone takes it again away. If there's now really step taken against people not to litter here, why should be a step taken against people who try to bring the litter away? So the thing with a private land is here at the Seaton Plateau a little problem. It's allowed to walk you through, but is it now allowed to pick up the rubbish? Now, the bigger things, of course, not. Now, the next thing is, we looked already 2 days ago where we can get such a litter picker. We found it in the Middle Grange shopping center in Boyce, back at the center, where also the cooking and kitchen and homeware is, and the needles. They're on the backside. £4 did they have them. They've quite a lot of plastic, but it's just £4. I guess we're gonna hold at least a few times. And maybe it's even better to have a smaller one when I can put them into the backpack to the tennis rackets, and they're long enough. So we're gonna go there later on and probably buy one. But that is what we're gonna do later. For now, we just now looked here and continue our research. How can we even do it? Are we legally allowed to pick up litter, and where can we bring it? Now we're gonna continue now. The Hour by James Bernard Fagan. We've shut the gates by Dover Straits and north, where the tides run free. Cheek by jowl, our watchdogs prowl, grey hulks in a greyer sea. And the prayer that England prays tonight, our Lord of our destiny, as the foam of our plunging prose is wide, we have stood for peace and we war for right, God give us victory. Now slack, now strung, from the mainmast flung, the flag throbs fast in the breeze, strained o'er the foam like the hearts at home that beat for their sons on the seas. For mothers and wives are praying tonight, our Lord of our destiny, but we've not time, for our lips are tied, our fists are clenched, and we're stripped to fight, God give us victory. The west wind's blown the face of the foe, our Drake is beating his drum. We drink to the day for the hour, we pray. The day and the hour have come. The seas, the lone empire praise tonight, O Lord of our destiny. Thou didst give the seas into the written's might, for the freedom of thy seas the smite. God give us victory. High-tech industries. That is the type of industry which is producing computers, mobile phones, satellites, defense equipment, medical things. And they are so-called footloose industries because they don't have to be at the harbor or near railway or at roads where good traffic possibilities are. They can be footloose wherever they want to be because they don't need many raw materials. And the book is naming two as an example: the Silicon Glen through Scotland and then Cambridge Science Park in Cambridge, in England. And they're saying that in 1970, on a disused place out by the Trinity College north of Cambridge, where it was opened, and there are over 70 different organizations. There are many scientists and technicians, and they are developing and researching new ideas. People have a high prestige from the place, so it's attractive for people to go there and to do their research. They are linked, they can help each other do research and development. And one side thing, as I said, the buildings are low there in these high-tech industries, and also the trees and parks and attractive landscape between them. According to Geography by Jane Frederick and Brian Griesler on the page 93, the positions and views expressed are the ones of the source and don't necessarily align with my own or with the ones of the entity spoken of. Industrial changes of the Lower Don Valley in Sheffield in north-central England. Now, industry can change. It can be in the center of a city that was during the Industrial Revolution, the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, while it continued. And the people were going there to work by foot. They didn't have cars weren't invented, and the distance weren't so long. Then the cities grew, and it became congested in the centers, and many industries needed room to expand and build big factories, and they went to greenfield sites, heavy outsides of towns, where the land is cheap, and they started to make heavy industries, so it went more to the outside. That is something which can happen in many places, and when the people were thriving longer and so on. Overall, that can happen, but the industry is changing the location. That happened in the Lower Don Valley in Sheffield as well. The Lower Don Valley. In the 1870s, 2/3 of Europe's steel was coming from the Lower Don Valley. And there were 40,000 people living in the 1920s. Many were working in steel and engineering, manufacturing things. And the book is saying that the government was locating the people from the polluted center more to the outside, so the people. And then happened the collapse in the 1980s of the steel industry. 25,000 people lost their jobs, and much went vacant in the center of the city. So the city had to replan. It was changing industry, a new type of industry, new locations of industry, people living differently at different places. The whole city was changing, was turned around. A shopping center was opened, the Meadowhall Shopping Center in 1990. A super tram was built through to make transport differently. It was built places for the World Student Games. So the government invested £80 million into the city to cope with the natural occurring changes of the industry's locations and type. The Wife of Flanders by G.K. Chesterton. Low and brown barns, thatched and repatched and tattered, where I had 7 sons until today. A little hill of hay your spur has scattered. This is not Paris, you have lost the way. You staring at your sword to find it brittle, surprised at the surprise that was your plan, who shaking and breaking barriers not a little, find nevermore the death door of Sedan. Must I for more than carnage call you claimant, paying you a penny for each son you slay? Man, the whole globe and gold were no repayment for what you have lost. How shall I repay?
What is the price of that red spark that caught me from a kind farm that never had a name? What is the price of a dead man that brought me? For other dead men do not look the same. How should I pay for one poor graven steeple whereon you shattered what you should not know? How should I pay you, miserable people? How should I pay you everything you owe? Unhappy, can I give you back your honor? Though I forgave, would any man forget? While all the great green land has trampled on her the treason and terror of the night we met. Not any more in vengeance or in pardon, one old wife bargains for a beam that's hers. You have no word to break, no heart to harden. Ride on and prosper, you have lost your spurs.
Tomorrow we want to go over there to the hard mill in that region. But in a moment we will continue there down to the tennis courts.
Transnational companies. These are companies who don't just operate in one country, but in multiple. And they can be big, and some of them have a higher income as a smaller country. And it can be that they are manufacturing the product in one country where the wages are low, and that they sell the products in another country where the people have a lot of money and they can sell it expensively. And sometimes the people who are producing the product are not even able to buy that product. And that in a third country they're having the headquarters and they pay there the taxes. And that way such a transnational company can have advantages of different laws, different financial situations of people as their advantage. And there are also some advantages for the host country of fabric for a transnational company, that it brings occupation, wages for people to work there. Also training in some jobs, some investment, and maybe the multiplier effect that if there's one company, a second one can come there as well, and that they can profit from each other, and that more countries can come into one region. Disadvantages are that it can be that if it is in one country where the wages are a little bit higher, the company is hiring people from another country and not the people who are living there in the country where fabric is. And it can be also that the research and the development of new techniques is done in another country, and that such a company of fabric in another country can be just shut down by the company, and then there can be a big falling away of one pillar of the industry very suddenly. According to Geography by Jane Frederick and Brian Gressley on the page 95, the positions and views expressed are the ones of the source and don't necessarily align with my own or with the ones of the entity spoken of. The Stars in Their Courses by John Frederick Freeman. And now, while the dark vast earth shakes and rocks in this wild, dream-like snare of mortal shocks, how look, I muse, those cold and solitary stars on these magnificent, cruel walls. Venus, that brushes with her shining lips, surely the wakeful edge of the world, and mocks with hers its all ungentle wantonness? Or the large moon, pricked by the spars of ships creeping and creeping in their restlessness, the moon pouring strange light on things more strange. Looks she unheedfully on seas and lands, trembling with change and fear of counter-change? Oh, not earth trembles, but the stars, the stars. The sky is shaken, and the cool air is quivering. I cannot look up to the crowded height and see the fair stars trembling in their light. For thinking of the star-like spirits of men crowding the earth and with great passion quivering. Stars quenched in anger and hate, stars sick with pity. I cannot look up to the naked skies, because a sorrow on a dark midnight lies, death on the living world of sense. Because on my own land a shadow lies, that may not arise. Because from bare grey hillside and rich city streams of uncomprehending sadness pour, pouring the eager spirit's pure intelligence, How look I muse those proud and solitary stars on these magnificent blue walls. The stars trembled in the broad heaven, faint with piety. An hour to dawn I looked, because the trees with mist shaped other trees with branching rose, covering the woods and putting out the stars. There was no murmur on the seas, no wind blew, only the wandering air that grows with dawn, then murmurs, sighs, and dies. The mist climbed slowly, putting out the stars, and the earth trembled when the stars were gone. And moving strangely everywhere upon the trembling earth thickened the watery mist. And for a time the holy things are they. England's wise thoughts are swords. The quiet hours are trodden underfoot like wayside flowers, and every English heart is England's holy. In starless night, a serious passion streams the heaven of light. A common beating is in the air, the heart of England throbbing everywhere. And all her roads are nerves of noble thought, and all her people's brain is but her brain. And all her history, less her shame, is part of her requicked consciousness. Her courage rises clean again, and children's inspiration is her name, her name. Even in victory there hides defeat. The spirit's murdered, though the body survives, except the cause for which a people strives burn with no covetous full heart. Fights she against herself, who infamously draws a sword against man's secret spiritual laws. But though England, because a bitter heel, hath sought to bruise the brain, that sensitive will, the conscience of the world, for this England art arisen, and shall fight purely through long, profoundest night, making their quarrel thine, who are grieved like thee, and if to thee the stars yield victory, tempering the hate of a great foe, that hurled vainly strength against the conscience of the world, for all their dead be countless as the stars, and all the living bitter as the sea. I looked again, or dreamt I looked, and saw the stars again, and all their place again. The moving mist had gone, and shining still the moon went high and pale above the hill. Not now those lights were trembling in the vast waste of the nervy heaven, nor trembled earth. Profound and calm they gazed as the soft short hours passed, and with less fear, not with less awe, remembering England all the blood and pain. How look, I cried, ye stern and solitary stars, on these disastrous walls.
So they removed the car which we found here 2 weeks ago when it was still burning, when we were down by the Hartlepool nuclear power plant. But as one can see, these metal strings of the wires, they are all still lying around here, and they keep lying here, and they can come between the legs, and when one can get injured and fall down. All the horses are gone.
Backhand inside out. So on the non-dominant hand side, one or two-handed, over to the dominant side, and then play from here, inside out. Not long line, inside out. That can be just like that. A bit more over. That is inside out. It doesn't happen so usually in a game. And one actually goes without. Makes it as a short star over, as a flat shot over. It more usually happens by a serve. So someone is playing a serve, and then it comes higher. And higher. Just over Vernede front. So these are the two possibilities. One is flat, standing like that, flat through, a bit more to the left, a bit more flat. And the other one is by high serve. Standing flat and then a high forward. I catch you sleep. One more shot. go higher up. And then just similar to the backhand inside.
So we're back, and as I said, on the way back we went in a couple of shops, and we went also to Boys and bought there this later picker for £4. So we got it now in Hartlepool. There is the Middleton Grand Shopping Centre, and there is a Boyes, Boyes shop, and there we bought it for £4. And we will look how we will continue. No, for now we are now back, and we will look how we continue in the next vlog. We also bought bananas, the ripest one which were there, and they turned out to be unripe. No, thank you very much, and until next time.